Chenault Show, and I hope you are all having an incredible day. We have got some new technology going on, and I'll tell you one thing right now, we are pumped up about it. It is going to be a great show for you today. This is the first of many. We're going to go live on Tuesday afternoons from here on out, so it'll be always starting at 2 o'clock Mountain Time, and then Pacific Time, and 5 o'clock Eastern Time, and then we'll simulcast it back the following Saturday on Genesis Communications Network. So we'll be on both venues, and we are very, very, very excited about that. So hopefully you're all having a great day. Hopefully you're all seeing this. We are at the Contact Mapping offices. It is working like a charm, and we're happy to have our guest on today. He's the one and only Bob Beaudine, who might be the coolest guy I've ever known. And here's what kind of convertible was that, Bob, that you picked me up in at the air? What was that?
You know, that was, I think that was a Jaguar convertible.
Well, you've got so many cars, you're not even sure what you picked the guy up in. But here's the deal about Bob Beaudine. He called up and said, Tom, do you want to go to a Texas Rangers baseball game? And my buddy Tim Spire here a couple of minutes ago asked me if I wanted to go to a Rockies game, and we would have ridden in my 1973 BMW 2002. We'd have been smoking all the way down to I-25, almost asphyxiated with the gas. But instead, Bob Beaudine said, let's hop in my car. He picked me up in this beautiful convertible. We drove right under the stadium, Texas Stadium. There was an owner's street under the stadium. We parked right next door. He's one of the owners of the Rangers, and he's on the board of directors. He might not be an owner. And as a result, we walk right in through this cool door. We walk up to the owner's box. Charlie Pride's sitting in there. He says, hello, Tom. And we talk to him. Bob gets me introduced. Next thing you know, we're looking out the window. The baseball game's just getting started. And there's a guy in the very front row behind home plate waving at Bob. So we go down there. We walk down to the front row. There is all the other owners of the Rangers. There's George Bush's private bunker, because he's a U.S. president, that they've got set up in the stadium because he's also an owner of the Rangers. And the game goes on. And about 3/4 of the way through the game, you just saw it was like slow motion. A guy on deck walked over and said, Bob, I know you have a guest here. I wonder if he'd like a baseball. When he pushed a baseball through the screen for me. It was one of the great days of my entire life. Ladies and gentlemen, the author of the book, The Power of WHO and Two Chairs, Mr. Bob Beaudine. I love this guy. How you doing, Bob?
Fantastic. It's just, it's just great. Your offices look great. You look great. It's being with you is even better. It's more exciting. And of course, I was honored to have you in town.
You are a rock star. One of you, and I tell you this, and I had some people tell me a couple of days ago, I had them post the most important book they'd ever read. And Lorene Williamson and a couple other people said The Power of WHO. And I am going to tell you, that is one of the most unbelievable books of all time. As you know, I read it. I found it at the airport. I called you after I landed, and I said, I have got to have you on the radio show, because your book changed my life. This book right here changed my life, everybody. Like, changed my life. And Steve Wallach from Longevity, the CEO over there, same deal. That's how he got his wife in front of Oprah Winfrey. You already know everyone you need to know. And this book will prove this to you definitively. So all you need to do is read it, understand it, and love it. And I promise you, Leah Schaefer, I promise you, Lorene Williamson, I promise all of you that this is the book of a lifetime for you. And I promise you, it will change your life. It is insane. Lanny Sharp, Gary DeMarco, unbelievable. The people that are already out there piping in, watching you, Bob Beaudine, are unbelievable. They're all friends of mine. And what you've done, you basically were the guy that, I mean, how did you do this? Why did you do this? And why am I doing all the talking? It's a radio show.
Well, first off, I appreciate just, you saying all of that. So I don't have to actually say any of this. You know, the crazy part is that I would have written a book called The Power of Friendship, but today everybody has 5,000 people, right? Having, supposedly on Facebook and everywhere else that are all their friends. And so it became obvious that there are some people, though, in our lives that come in for a reason and a season, that it touched your lives in some way. And of course, we have those friends, right? And these people who are friends are actually important to you. They play a factor. And so I wanted to talk about the people who mattered most, and that I showcase how today that, so many people are looking over at Tom or you talking about me, and they say, well, gee, I don't have any who. I don't have those type of people. And the answer is, of course they do. Each of us have been given specific people in our lives to help us. And we've developed this community of friends through what? Love and unconditional giving that will come to your aid if you had asked them. And of course, that's what we got to do. We got to ask.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And if you ask, the game of poker is going to change. And the people that you ask the least are the people closest to you. And when I read that in your book, my life changed, because I am not used to asking for help. I'm not used to levering up relationships like that. Bob, it truly, truly changed everything. Guy out there, George Maitland, big Christian guy. I hope he reads Two Chairs also, because it's just as important, especially for a guy like George. He's one of the premier pastors you're ever going to want to meet. And this book should be in every area of your church, because it's about just sitting down with an empty chair across from you. And obviously the person in that chair that you should talk to every day is Jesus. But it is a great book too. But every one of these people read it. They read it. They live it. It's the most important thing that can happen to their life. How did you come upon that idea, Bob? Tell people actually how you even got from the into the sports business, because it's an exciting and interesting story. You and your dad, who you loved with all your heart.
I started, my dad created an entire industry of executive recruiting. So people hire us to find their top executives, and we've been doing it now for 52 years. So nothing could be better than working with your dad, and kind of, walking through life, him showing you things, et cetera. And one of the things he always told me when I first joined the firm, he said, there's three things I want you to always remember when you join the firm. And my dad was a Notre Dame, McKinsey, top consulting firm, Mensa, really smart. So I got my pad of paper out, and I'm going to write down the specific things that he has that he's going to tell me that are going to be rocket shipping me to the top, right? And so he says, write these three things. Number one, make friends. Number two, help your friends in every way possible. Three, don't be surprised if you do a lot of business with your friends. So we've been taught our whole lives that friends and business are taboo. So let me get this correct. We're supposed to work with people we don't know and don't trust? I mean, this is crazy. Your friends, the people around you, were given to you specifically to help you in ways you never imagined. And when we looked at executive recruiting, how would we fill these jobs for all these areas? One of the great things that we did was we know other people who are great friends of ours who know people. And so, when people started out, they would look and not understand the concept, because they never would talk, like you said, about your friends close to you. They wouldn't see them as resources and conduits, but they are, and they're amazing.
And take it deeper than that. I mean, think about who would do anything for you.
Right.
It is such a short list. And those people that would do anything for you, you would do anything for. And that door never swings both ways, because both of you are scared to death to ask the people that you love the most for help, because you think you're not going to look good. And Bob Beaudine, just blows that to smithereens in the book, right, Bob?
Yeah, I gave people permission to ask their friends for help and to help them. And the answer is this. Your friends could be a dentist. He might not even be in any field. He could be a doctor. He could be a plumber. But they got friends. And so when you realize that your friends are amazing, and listen, the greatest love that God talked about was laying your life down for a friend. So the greater love was what? Friendship. And so what wouldn't we do for a friend? The answer is, I'd do anything for my friends. I'd help them. And here's the statistic. So just so everyone, we just clear the boat here. 87% of all jobs and all deals are placed by one friend. 94% of the reason, 87%. So this is written. Why? Because Simply, references, endorsements, and testimonials are your greatest allies. And so if I'm sitting in a situation and my wife comes over to me and says, hey, so I just met, Tom and Denise, and I'm talking to Denise, and she's got a friend of hers that are in trouble, and listen, we got to help them. The answer is, you know what I'm doing? I'm helping them. That's what friends do. Friends help you now. Acquaintances, what? That's right. They wish you well. So what are we doing? The concept of going out to a bunch of people we don't know and thinking that strategy of just what called networking, which is faceless websites and handing out business cards to strangers and sending in Dear Recruiter letters. And as an executive recruiter, I get $52,000 a year. Dear sir, to whom it may concern, dear recruiter. And of course, I don't know you. But all you needed was this friend. So what's crazy, and I was brought in, I just did a recruiting thing for Urban Meyer at Ohio State. And so we're talking to all his coaches, and I was teaching him about this model. So there's 4 things that I told them that people think about you when you walk in the room and you're trying to sell them something. And if you knew these 4 things, wouldn't it be fantastic? You'd know these 4 things and they would change the entire trajectory of your meeting. The first thing is they think, do I know you? Okay, wouldn't it be good that you knew someone who knew you and could sell you before you walked in there and all you needed was a friend, which would be unbelievable. Second thing they think is, do I like you? If someone likes you in a deal, first we had 87% if they know you, 94% if I like you. If talent was the reason everyone got jobs, we wouldn't have Congress and Senate. And so do I know you? Do I like you? And then we get to talk about understanding your needs and being the best. And so the problem is that most people, they want to come in and sell that they're the best, and I don't know you. And then they want to say they understand your needs. And of course that doesn't work. And then they say, at some point you're going to like me and then you'll get to know me. And the other side is, wouldn't it be great if we already knew one person who knew them? Of course you do. You already know everyone you need to know, and you need to first stop and talk to your friends.
I love that story right there. I'm going through your book here, and as I listen to the stories and I listen to you talk, you went from being an executive recruiter for manufacturing companies to being the most powerful guy in the National Football League nobody ever heard of. How did you make that shift? Did anything really change, Bob, or did you just realize the skill set that you had of knowing everybody, paying attention to who they are and knowing about their life? You could basically serve anybody in any profession, anywhere, because you had the skill set to do it, which was figuring out what the person across the table from you wants and show them how to get it. That's all you do, right?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. So I looked at my dad one day and I said, I should do what I love plus what I'm really good at. That's such a critical piece for today, because a lot of people think they can't do what they love with people they love in a place they love where their family loves them. They can do it for the right reasons. So I said to him, and he looked at me and goes, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, listen, when I do a search for like a manufacturing company, at the end of the search, I get a tour of the plant. But if we did the head of marketing for the NBA, we'd get All-Star Weekend. And he said, yeah, go get that. And so here's the thing. So once you have a skill set, a demonstrated record of achievement, you have friends who cross industries. That same skill set goes to all of that. And so wouldn't it be shocking to you that if I told you that the very first search that I did was for the commissioner of baseball, where I put in Bud Selig? That's my opener. I mean, this is how crazy the power of who is. You're thinking, I created the whole industry. No one had ever done this before. And I just felt led that this is it. You're thinking today that you have something, someone's listening today that they've got something, but they don't think that their friends can help them. I know you haven't asked them yet. The 3 reasons that you won't get your dream is you don't ask people who are around you. You ask the wrong who, and you're vague. Your friends need you to ask them specifically if you know some people. So that's what I did. I went out to some people and said, this is what I really want. And then all of a sudden, the people who we knew, because I had been working at this for 15, 16 years, already doing presidents of different companies, one of the guys on the board happened to be on the board of one of the aspects of the Atlanta Braves and all of that, and that ties. And then he looked at me and goes, well, no one's ever really done this. Would you like to be involved in this? Seriously? Yes. And that opened up every other search. So now, like, we've done 54 or something of the 100 athletic directors. We placed 86 head coaches in college. And, my thing is that your dream comes through first and foremost. Zig Ziglar said this great line: you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And my first thing is start with your friends. Tell them what your dream is. Create a dream wall. Let's start a group. All we'd have to do is you and me and your son, and we create this dream wall. We put up some things, and then we figure out who we need to know. And I bet between the three of us and all of our friends, we could do something. And that's what people are missing. They won't ask.
I am the king of I know a guy, and that's all it's ever been. But I knew everybody already, so I had been doing this contact mapping for many, many years. But I was doing it like a kindergartner until I met Bob Beaudine. And what I did was I had 18,000 people, and that was about 17,999 too many. Actually, about 17,988 too many, because shrinking that down, and that's hard to do, to the people that you love the most, your who group that he's going to talk about in this book. Yeah. So what I did was I accordioned it. So the accordion looked like this, it was like this, and then I expanded it out to 18,000. Then I squeezed it back down to 12. And then I took those 12 and levered that back out. So I had these different subsets all the way through, like he talks about in his book. And at the end of the day, I have got the most killer list. I've got a big list of people I know a lot about, but the killer list is the 12. And then the killer list beyond that is the subset circles that he taught me to make. If you guys will do this, and I say this all the time, you want to interview two people and you want a three-way one with your upline. And the reason I do that is because whenever I need third-party credibility, people think I'm just this big old hamburger-eating Haagen-Dazs man. All I do is say, you know what? I know Bob Beaudine from the Power of WHO. He's the most powerful guy in the NFL you've never heard of. I know Bob Beaudine. He wrote a book called Two Chairs. He had me read a book by a guy named Bob Goff. It was an unbelievable book. He knows all these guys like the back of his hand. Why? Because he's got a strong, strong faith. Why? Because he's got a sense of integrity that you've never seen before. Why? Because he taught me to treat my friends like absolute gold, and it changed my life, and it will change yours. And what you've got to stop doing is running past the people that you love, that love you, to go run down to the corner to hug some stranger that you're never going to see again. Treat that group like it's the $1 million they are, right, Bob?
100%. They asked what the greatest commandment in the world was. And of course, the commandment was, love God with all your heart, all your soul, and love your neighbor, the people God gave you. When we die, we're not going to talk a lot about a bunch of deals, but we're going to talk about what did you do with the people I gave you? And you know what I'm going to do is that I've actually at Two Chairs hand over my trouble to God, and I can focus in on my friends. My goal is to help you be successful. That's allows such a great thing to sit and love on the people. It's a big piece right now is what good is it that you love someone they don't know it? You got to go and first start up your little group. So someone today could say, hey, I don't have a lot of friends yet. And, the subject is that men over the age of 35 have stopped adding friends. They stopped. They keep the old ones, but they don't see them very often. And then, men over 60 give up their old friends. And so one of the things that I'm kind of trying to say to people is this: look at who are your 12 friends? Who are your 3 closest? Who's your best friend? I got a best friend of mine, and I call him and I tell him I love him. We talk on going to work. There's a code of ethics of how often you talk to people. Tom calls me out of nowhere. We just sit and get on the phone. He'll just call me and say, hey, Bob, what are you doing? Hey, I got a guy in my office. I want to talk to you about my guy. And hey, you need to stop. And listen to me. Time is everybody's enemy, but timing's our best friend. Stop what you're doing and help your friends. Every moment you can. If they could call you and you could do something right now that could change their life, I'm all in. And so when Tom calls and he says, hey, what are you doing? I'm talking to you. What's going on? I know it's a moment. Life is made up of moments. And, I love the quote that some people come into our lives, they leave almost instantly. And then there are some people who come into our lives and they forge such a press on your heart and your soul that you're forever changed. Tom, you're one of those guys for me. Dang it. I don't get to see you often, but you took a place in my heart and it will forever be there. And the answer is we are going to just do great and mighty things as things go on. And people have those friends. And when you have them, tell them you love them. Tell them, hey, I'm thinking about you. I appreciate your friendship. I love you. And then go have coffee with them, go have lunch with them, because these are the people who you're going to do life with, and you can do great and mighty things if you had one, just one.
Think about this for a second, everybody, because this happens to me all the time. I have lots of friends, and they run themselves against the wall. Something horrible happens to them. And then they call me on the phone and said, well, I guess I found out who my friends really were. And I always kind of chuckle about that, because I guarantee you that it's a mirrored response. The reason that those friends really showed up as not friends when the chips were down for you, because maybe you weren't there for them when the chips were down for them, or maybe you weren't there for them when even going was good, because we spend so much time being hip, slick, and cool instead of telling our friends that we love them, that we make a huge mistake. And I want you guys, every one of you, go back, and I use the word interview all the time, and I probably don't even know if that's the right word. It probably isn't. But somebody was talking to me the other day in a seminar I was on this weekend, and the guy goes, well, you already know what's going on with your friends, and Tom's crazy. He doesn't need to go out there and re-interview his friends. And I'll tell you something. My wife's goals change monthly. I swear to God, she wants something new. She wants something different. She wants to do this. She wants to do that. So I've got to constantly be re-interviewing my wife. And I've got to constantly be re-interviewing Bob Beaudine. I'm going to go down to Dallas here at the end of May, like the 28th or 29th. And Adrian and I are going to figure out a way to go to his house. We're going to go to the corner. He probably won't invite us over to his house, but we're going to go to the Starbucks at the corner, and we're going to sit down with Bob Beaudine. And my son, Adrian, is going to understand why I love this guy, and he's on my short list. Because I'll tell you one thing right now, Bob's got right now in his office, he's sitting right next to a girl who went to Liberty University. Her name is Shannon, and she is going to go for gold in the pole vault. And I talked to Bob about it, and he goes, oh, I love this girl, and I love her dad. He's one of my best friends, and I love having her around. And all I thought was, I want to be Shannon, because I am telling you, Bob is that kind of guy. But you got to treat your friends like that. And another thing I have to figure out is what I can do for Bob. Because I'll tell you one thing right now, life is a two-way street, and you don't have to wait till they ask. You've got to figure out something to do nice for them today. And that's another reason this book, The Power of WHO, is the power of who. It's amazing. So am I right or am I wrong, Bobby?
Well, you're 100% right. And so a couple of things. One is we played this game when I go out with people, and it's so fantastic. We send little text messages to our friends, and we say, hey, I'm thinking about you. It couldn't be any more affirming than that. I wanted to tell you I appreciate your friendship, and I love you. The people who we love don't understand the word friendship, and the people who are friends don't understand the word love. And so the people who you love come back and say, did you mean this for me? Because you said the word friend. And it just gives you an opportunity to say, Yeah, I meant this for you. I love you. You're my best friend. And so what we find out in this type of thing is there's a number of people that God puts on your heart at various times. And there's a reason that's on your heart that you need to call them. You need to just say, hey, I was just thinking about you. Are you okay? And guess what? The whole world's not okay. They got kids in trouble. They just, my wife had a neck disc replacement. In July last year, I had right shoulder replacement. And when, you know why it's great to get people to call and tell you, hey, are you okay? And how are things going? Because you need to be affirmed and have people just do that. And so all over the country, you have friends that occasionally would just love for you to do that. And so when you do, you are investing in friends, like Tom just said. When their moment of tough times, if someone said their mom just passed away, I'm flying out to their funeral. Why? It's their mom. They can't sit there. They got to see their mom. And so if this was, you just got promoted, I need to celebrate you. You know, that's what we need to do with our friends. You need to be celebrated, not tolerated. And that's, of course, causing a lot of people think they never, ever reach out, reconnect, talk to anybody. They're never really being a friend. If you want some friends, you got to be a friend. That's just part of this.
Did you hear that, everybody? If you want those friends, you got to be a friend. And somebody said something profound to me last night. They said, not only do you not have to, stop thinking about yourself all the time, because that's all we're ever thinking about is ourselves. And then maybe even stop thinking about everybody else and turn your attention to God. If you can do that, you're going to win. And that everlasting search for God in your life. And I actually did this a couple of days ago because I had something going on that was really troubling to me. And I actually set a countdown timer on my wristwatch for 1 hour. So every hour, I reminded myself for 2 straight days that God's got this, give it back to him, get out of my head, and stay the course. And that reminded me that it's not all about Tom. And I promise all of you, it's not all about you. And if you can stay out of your head and stay into the hearts of other people, or even closer, or some sort of spiritual conversation around that, everything's going to shift for you. Your relationships are going to improve. Your life is going to improve. I truly believe that from the bottom of my heart. And then which is another reason I love the great Bob Beaudine, this book about business, this book about spirituality, tie them together, and you've got the perfect match, and that's what you did, man. And you've changed my life, Bob. You don't know it, but you've changed my life because you proved to me definitively that nice guys can finish first.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you've been blessed sometimes, like I always heard that if you have all this blessing, and I've stood on the shoulders of giants with my mom and dad and some of the people who are mentors and friends. And so one of the great things in life is to share some of the keys. I used to think people who wrote books were trying to schmooze me into reading their book so they could be millionaires and all of a sudden be rich. And then I read all their books, and then I found out, dang, they were already rich, and they were trying to give me some thoughts. So listen, readers are leaders, not studiers. You got to read. You got to quiet your mind down. You got to sit and this. I mean, Socrates said the unexamined life isn't worth living. And we got to stop and we got to take a moment. Zig Ziglar was one of my favorite guys growing up. And he said, listen, if you want your dreams to come true, you got to help other people make their dreams come true. We just got to get out and stop thinking about Bob. I didn't write The Power of Bob. I wrote A Power of Who, You and Your Friends. And people ask me all the time at 2 chairs. So listen, seriously. So I'm going to have 1 chair for me and 1 for God. And so what's he going to say to me? And I go, I didn't write 3 chairs. I don't get to come. It's just you and him. He's going to talk to you. And he knows how to do that. And so today it's so positive and hopeful. Can you imagine that the guy who created the whole world has given you specific friends to do your dream? And you got to dream out loud again. I know you're frustrated and things have gone wrong and everything seems to be going in the wrong direction in circumstances, but As I look at it, that's every epic movie we've ever watched. And your life's an epic movie, and it's just about to hit. It's just about to take off as soon as you can ask your friends for help.
So, Bob, I want to shift gears a tiny bit because I've noticed something. You are a lot more present on LinkedIn these days than you are on Facebook, and you've got a big footprint on both. Have you decided that LinkedIn has got more, I mean, it's more of a business, more of a, I mean, a different optic? Why have you done that? I mean,
well,
there's about four, good, thank you.
Well, first, two things. One, so on one side, Instagram, dang, I got like 160 some thousand people now following me on Instagram. So that just took off to the level because they love a picture about your life and talking it. LinkedIn, though, is if you're in business, the great part about LinkedIn, they do some fantastic things. They have your bio, they have some things, and then the friends of yours can go and say, hey, here's a little bit about you. Now, they're missing a little bit of the contact mapping.
Yeah.
They're missing that. But they get out and they're doing this. One of the things I love about LinkedIn is this. So for every person and I got tons of people, when they reach out and they touch me, and then I send them back a note and say, hey, I so appreciate you. Thank you for reaching out. You know, congratulations on things that you're doing. I'm looking at their background. And then I say, hey, I've written a new book. Here's a little video. And here's something, I don't know if you've done the other, but hey, I'd love your thoughts. What's shocking about LinkedIn people is they read books, they get involved, they love business. And the answer is they turn immediately and say, hey, I just bought your book, I'm in. And then they send you back a note, and then they're talking about it, they're liking stuff, they're sending you comments. And then, you know, if people comment a bunch about you and they do it, you know what? They come through and I'll talk to them in my office. I mean, this is a crazy world. You gotta, you know, I have people all the time. They say, so, hey, is this really you? Are you really talking to me? I just sent you a message. Yeah, I do all of this. I put up my own inspiration. Why? Because only the inspired inspire. And so I sit at two chairs. God gives me something fantastic. I want to share that, right? I'm inspiring myself, and now if I'm going to be a friend, I need to inspire you for the day. And that's why I'm on social media, just to inspire people, just to tell them, don't quit. Don't think you can do this alone. You are not alone. You have a friend, and you got to be one. And there are some of your friends who are lonely and isolated, and they don't know what to do today. And just think, you and I could touch them today and tell them, hey, we love them. They're not forgotten. And hey, come over and have a coffee. And I can promise you, you ain't going to be at some Starbucks. You're at my house, and we're barbecuing because I do great ribs, Tom. Wait till you taste my ribs.
Has Marilee Sexton been over to your house for ribs?
So I'll tell you what. So in this process is, yes, I get people coming over to my place and having ribs, and they dig it.
That is so funny. Well, yeah. So I'm just watching all these Facebook comments, and it isn't about it is about love around Bob Beaudine. And all of you have got that kind of capability. You just got to show people your heart, even though you've had it broken 10 times. Yeah. I mean, think about how you were in high school with that puppy love, and go back there. That hardened heart, that resignation, that cynicism, that despair that everybody else is running around with their political game shows and their spiritual game shows and everything else that they can do to keep people away from them, give all that up. Yeah. Just get naked and get people to see you for who you are, which is a loving child of God. If you can do that, you're going to win this game. And I'll tell you, there isn't one person, and I'm looking at the board, whether it's Robin Tanner, whether it's my buddy Susanna, I don't care who you are. I can guarantee you one thing right now. You start leading with your heart, and the price of poker is going to change for you. And that's all going to start. And I've seen so many people saying, I'm buying both books because this is it. This is it. This is where it resonates from. This part's for your head. Wait, this one's for your head. This one's for your heart. That's that simple, or your soul. And It's that simple. You've got to do that. Every one of us, every one of you, every one of us. So Bob, we're going to get out of here, but I want you to give these people a couple of more minutes on what's next for you. Why on earth we need to be locking arms together. You're going to sell more books than anybody on the planet. I have no doubt about that. If you don't have the money for a book, I want you to call me and I'll send you one for free. It's that simple. I love this guy. It is such important work that he's doing. I can't tell you how many people he has touched in my life. And he wasn't kidding. Every time I was at the Final Four down in San Antonio, I called Bob Beaudine. Everywhere I am, I call Bob Beaudine because I know he's going to know somebody that's going to be able to do me a favor or help me out, or I'm going to be able to do a friend of his a favor. And I'm telling him I'm in San Antonio just because if he knows somebody in trouble down there, he knows he can call on Tom Chenault and I'm going to help that guy out. That's the way these relationships work. That's the way doors swing both ways. So Bob, give us about 2 or 3 minutes of goodbye and let these people say, how much they love you.
Well, first off, it's so fantastic being with you. One of the things that I'm doing is I'm speaking around the country, and one of the things that I do at the end of a talk, a lot of people do just what you said. They finish their talk and they leave. So I like to finish. I finish my talk and then I want to talk to you. And so the other day, it was for the first time ever. It's really exciting. Is Zig Ziglar's group has now taken the Power of WHO and 2 Chairs is now training that and certifying people worldwide. So That's just gone crazy good. And so I think it's important that each of us, as we start to do our day, where you do is you got a moment with a few people to inspire them. Go back. Don't limit yourself to people. There's a few people that are on your heart right now that you've kind of messed up your relationship. You haven't talked to them. I'm out trying to get those people to text them and tell them, hey, I'm thinking about them. I appreciate them. I love them. And so I'm out now big, and search is going great. My family, I've got 3 grandkids, and I'm writing a new book. And so I'm writing a book trying to show you in between the Power of WHO and share ingredients of this success, of where it is that somehow we've missed our marks. Foundationally, where we've missed our marks, in the internal aspects of where we missed our marks, externally on some facets of our mentors, and then the aspect of sometimes how this has all been masked from us on the spiritual side. So I'm out really going to be working hard on trying to get that done. If people will get on, and of course I've done both these books on audio. Some people like to do that. I've created a workbook for the Power of WHO. So I wanted to get people to, if they want to go deeper and they wanted somebody to, so they could write in all the names of the people. But there's something coming that's so exciting with Tom Chenault called Contact Mapping. This app, I'm just telling you, I'm just stopping Bob Beaudine. I'm telling you that what if we had an app that we could actually, when we meet someone, we wouldn't forget all the things that the guy just introduced us somebody fantastic. He wanted to know you and you didn't put all the information in on that one person. I mean, I got so many people that I meet, and there's some people though that God gave me as a gift, and then I just let it go because I didn't have an app that God has now created to allow you to send back a note to you. Can you imagine something actually alerting you that you should start to touch other people and send a note to them? Well, that's what WHO people do. And he has taken something in this contact mapping that I'm going to tell you is going to revolutionize all around the country. And it will so help you with your friends, the people. It'll teach you a little bit about remembering their birthdays, remembering their anniversaries, remembering their kids' names, remembering what you talked about last that you told them you were going to do and you forgot the moment you left. This is a big deal. So listen, don't mess up on this. When he comes out and they roll this at you, I'm telling you is that my WHO world is all going to all of a sudden be doing this because it's going to be fantastic. So I'm blessed to know you, Tom, and Marianne, and I can't wait to sit with Adrian and all that. It's going to be a blessing. I just appreciate all the people on Facebook. I just love y'all, and stay in touch because I'm going to inspire you more.